Welcome everyone to Icon's first event of 2021. Thank you for joining us. For those of you who don't know Icon, please visit us at www.iconsv.org to learn more. I'm also happy to inform you that we opened registration to our flagship program, SV101, that will take place in May 2021 in Israel. It is my pleasure to introduce you tonight's guests, Ellen Feld and Shlomi Ben Haim. Just a second. Ellen is the founder and managing partner of Vintage Investment Partners. Vintage has been a partner of Icon since the beginning, and we are happy to have him here tonight. Thank you, Ellen, for joining us.
Pleasure, thank you.
And Shlomi, the star of the night. Shlomi founded JFrog with friend and Yoav in 2008. 12 years later, the company has almost 750 frogs with swamps all over the world. In September 2020, the company went public in NASDAQ, providing huge pride to the Israeli ecosystem. Thank you, Shlomi. A few fun facts about Shlomi. Shlomi was a major in the Israeli Air Force. He is a true Israeli patriot. He is the father of 3 wonderful girls and married to one of the most gorgeous women inside out. Thank you and good luck.
Shlomi, that's quite a start. So anyway, it's wonderful. It's wonderful to have the honor, Shlomi, of interviewing you and discussing JFrog. So thank you very much to the Icon people. Rachel, thank you very much for that kind intro. And Shlomi, for people who are not familiar with JFrog, just 2 words about what the company does and maybe a little bit about your long-term vision.
Yeah, after Rachel intro, I realized that's the story of my life. That Dana, my wife, she's always there, maybe as the backseat, but she's the one that really leads, and she is amazing and gorgeous, exactly as Harry said, and that's the secret weapon, my wife and my daughters, and wow, I'm a bit shocked from the opening, but let's talk about.
Our wives and our kids are our secret weapons in all cases, I think. Anyway, so tell us a little bit about JFrog, what you guys are doing, just for people who may not be as familiar with it, and what your vision is long term, because you've been a visionary for quite some time, and I think it's a very interesting vision.
Yes, and so. In today's reality, every business that aims to win must be fast and serve the on-demand, instant reality we are living in. Now, you must have heard the phrase "software is eating the world." These are all new. Software already ate the world. Software powers everything we do. So if you combine the two, speed as a competitive advantage and software as the vehicle to achieve it, you will conclude that software must flow fast and secure continuously from the developer's keyboard to all edges and devices. JFrog is in a mission to achieve that, and we call it liquid software. And we envision a world where versions are not matters anymore, a versionless world when software is being updated seamlessly.
Well, now, when you look at what JFrog does, it's like the mother of all, technologies. I mean, it's hardcore tech. And as Rachel mentioned, you were a major in the Air Force. You didn't have a classic tech background. What kind of got you into this, to do this mother of all tech kind of company?
Well, I owe a lot of things to the Air Force and my time at the military. But to be completely honest with you, JFrog wouldn't be what JFrog is today without the great partnership that I have with the co-founders, Yoav Landman and Fred Simon, which are not just technical, they are top-notch technical people. Those are probably the most impressive leaders that I saw in the DevOps world. Alongside that, with a very strong technical team, companies like JFrog is not the only one, but companies like JFrog that are product-led, are R&D first companies and the R&D is the tip of the spear. If you have very strong employees, I'm sorry, and great partners, your background will serve you to build a great business. You don't have to be a great technologist, which I'm not.
Interesting. Now, what the name JFrog? Who came up with that? Like, why? What's the origin of that?
You know, Alan, we heard so many stories about the origin of the name. Some people claim that J stands for Jewish. This is the Jewish frog, and others. Another thing.
You started on Pesach or something, or what was exactly?
It started, to be honest, from the days that all the modular software and open source was around the Java community. In the days of JBoss, JDeveloper, JUnit, J everything, not JDate, but the technology of the word. And Yoav, our co-founder, started Artifactory using JFrog as the server name for the open source project that he started. Along the years, we fell in love with this creature that just symbols everything we believe in, the frog. It's agile, it's hybrid, live in land and in water, and beyond everything else, a frog is one of those creatures that can leap only forward, no backward. So we fell in love with the name and the creature, and we think that it represents us.
Now, it's interesting you mention that, because when I remember the first time I came to your offices, and one of the things that struck me was it's called the swamp. All the walls are green. You feel, one of the things that I think has been amazing about JFrog, and probably even more so than almost any other company, that I've been involved in, is how strong the culture is. I mean, you see it from the second you walk in the building. There is there's that sort of really very powerful feeling, hey, this is something different. How did you develop the culture? How important was the culture to really building JFrog? And what can you sort of say to young entrepreneurs who may be listening to this about culture, building the culture in an organization?
Wow, we can have a full day, or at least a full session just about culture. Yeah. I'll tell you one thing, and you mentioned it. I'm not coming from a technology background. I know today even more than I knew when we founded JFrog, that culture is everything. Now, it didn't start with JFrog. The three of us are coming from a company called Alpha CSP. JFrog is our second venture. Alpha CSP was acquired in 2005. And even then, we realized how important the culture is. And it's not just about the founders. It's about the group of leaders that join you and believe in the vision and believe that what you create is greater than the individual. Our CRO, Tali Notman, came with us from Alpha CSP, and she is a great spirit builder and part of the culture that we have created. Our CPO, Dror, came from Alpha CSP and believe in the same things. And Orit, our COO, and Karen, our CHRO, and many other leaders that joined have realized that culture is probably more important than strategy and product. I never saw.
How do you build it? Like, what's the special sauce? Because it's not simple. Like, is there any sort of things you could recommend to a young entrepreneur about getting that culture built in a positive way? What was it? What's the special sauce?
Yeah. So the reason that I mentioned those people, those leaders, is mainly because of the fact that you have to acknowledge that culture is more important than everything else. I never saw an organization with a great culture that failed. Never saw an organization like that. And if you understand that, you also accept two important conditions. Number one is that culture, it's like binaries. We are named the binaries people in the market. Cultures are like, it's like binary. You either in or out. There is no middle ground. And some people will appreciate your culture, and some people will find it not the right culture for them, which is legit and it's great. But you have to stay consistent. You have to be a great believer. You have to be the keeper of the flame if you really trust your culture and the values that it represents. The second thing, you should speak about it. You should live it. You should fulfill it every day. One of the things that our HR team did back in 2014 was creating the JFrog Codex. Just like everything else in JFrog, that was a bottom-up process that our own employees wrote the values. That was not a management exercise that you came into the boardroom and come out with the 10 commandments or the 10 values that the employees should follow. That was created from the bottom up, and our employees wrote what are the values that they want to follow. Along the years, more and more employees joined. And Alan, you know better than I am. You have a lot of experience with a lot of other companies. You're being questioned on every milestone. People told me that this culture is nice for 50 people, then to 100, then to 200. Now we are 700, and I'm still very proud to have the Codex as our guardian, as our culture guardian. People told me that when you go global, it will be hard because of the diversity and the different culture. And you know what? If you really believe in the culture you created and you think it serves you and your customers and your community, it becomes viral. And the people that appreciate that are the people that walk at the swamp.
Fabulous. Now, you named 4 people. 3 of those people are women. And a lot of people talk about diversity, and relatively few people do it. And I remember there was a beautiful, amazing picture when you guys were going public of, you know, the female leadership at JFrog. So talk a little bit about diversity. You know, how much of an impact did it have on you? Did you actually specifically target diversity, or was diversity like a natural product because these were just great people you'd been working with? Like, how did it all happen that way?
Well, first, as we open our conversation, you understand that I live in minority by default. I'm married to Dana, and I'm a father to 3 amazing daughters. So I know what it feels to be in minority, and they are amazing. That's the second thing that I've learned much better than us men. But to be serious, I've never hired someone just because of the race, the sex, the gender. None of this. Diversity cannot be the reason that drives you to hire your executive team. Never. I hired the right people for the right position at the right time. And it happened to be that the JFrog management is full of very talented women, but they would be talent wherever they will go. And I will forever look for talented, motivated people to join the team. I'm grateful and lucky to have them in my team, but it was not driven by diversity.
Do you think it made you a better team, though? Do you think you're a better firm because you are diverse? Do you feel like the diversity has had an impact on, you know, the fact that people come from different backgrounds and it's men and women working together? Did it have a effect on the product, effect on the strategy or on the implementation of the strategy?
First of all, we are much better because they are in the team. And to be honest, I really think that women are better than men. They are hard worker. They know what it means to give birth to something, not just a product, but to bring something to life. And my management would look different if it wouldn't be with them. And if it's diversity or not, I never thought about it. As I said, I never hired. Just recently, we hired a CMO, another lady executive, Micheline, and it was not part of the criteria. Just happened to be that we work great together, all of us, and I appreciate their presence there.
Super.
Now you get me in trouble with all the men executives that I have in the team.
Switching topics back, let's go back to DevOps for a second. Where do you think, like, what's the biggest challenge opportunity today in the space? Like, where's the white space going forward? Where do you think, sort of looking forward, where do you think this market's going?
Well, we started when I explained why JFrog is so vital to organizations, from your grocery store to your car manufacturer to your TV to air conditioning and obviously software everywhere being updated. JFrog became critical and vital for organization to build, test, and release software fast and secure. And now, JFrog is one of the DevOps companies in the world. But what happened is that somewhere around 10 years ago, the world started to produce small software that is easier to be produced because you bring a lot of pieces from outside your organization that was created by the community, by someone else. You take it, you build with it, you ship it, and you want it to be fast and secure. Now, since this whole pipeline have been trained, the developers and what we used to call the IT people, the ops people, came to a one common ground and started to collaborate in order to make sure that this competitive advantage is being fulfilled. Now, since then, the power of the machine, the power of the IT and the ops, and the power of the developers have combined, and this is what we call DevOps. And that makes the world flow faster and more secure. And without that, every company will fall behind. Satya, the great CEO of Microsoft, already said that every company is a software company. I'm saying that every company will be a DevOps company. It's still too early to see it, but we see how many companies are migrating from the waterfall methodologies, from the agile methodologies to DevOps, where software is being created by developers and machines and being continuously updated on every edge.
And so you think that automation of that whole process is the future?
Absolutely. It's start to be our reality, and it will for sure be the future. And just look at us. Everything we do today, our kids are at home learning with software. We order food, software. You book your hotel and flight, software. You buy online, software. So there is no way that developers, we will have, how many developers we have today? 28 million developers. And it's growing 16% year over year. There is no way in the world that this will be enough. So the combination of developers and machines and automation will be our reality, our future reality.
That's, again, we have probably in the audience, people not only just from the DevOps space, but from many different spaces and SaaS companies and general software companies, etc. And when you looked at, let's go back in the history a little bit and talk a little bit about how you built the business and how you got from 0 to 1 million in ARR. You were talking about DevOps to a certain extent when, let's put it this way, now it's clear and it's and it's a hot space. But when you started this, you were creating a market, and so a little bit about how did you get from 0 to 1, and I think also what's interesting is one of the things that I thought's been amazing about JFrog is you guys, instead of going top down, you went bottom up. You went to the developers. You didn't go to their bosses and then try to sell an enterprise solution. So maybe like a little bit about how you got, how you built that and how you came to the conclusion you got to do bottom up, and what does that mean even? If I'm starting a company, what do you do to start a bottom up sales motion?
These are three different great questions, and I'll try to address them one by one. Yes, when we founded JFrog back in 2008, the phrase DevOps was not existed. I think it happened only 5 years after that Forrester coined this phrase in 2013 or 2014, and it was very hard to convince the world that software automation, software acceleration, the combination of the machine with the power of the developers is going to be the future. And what we have decided, started with Artifactory, which is now named the database of DevOps. We claimed that the most important, the first level citizen, the highest or the primary asset of this world of DevOps is the software packages. It's not the source code as it was until then. Everybody had a Git repository or Subversion repository or whatever source code repository and created binaries from that point. Something has been changed from the moment you started to manage binaries. You realize that those software packages, the binaries, is what you build, it's what you test, it's what you ship and deploy in runtime. And therefore, in order to be faster, you have to be focused on this very important element. When we started, it was the joke of the industry. Alan, it was the joke of the industry. We were not the underdogs. I'm always saying that we were the fleas on the underdog tail. And for 4 years until Gemini, which you know very well from Vintage, and
Gemini Ventures. That's right.
And Yossi were the first venture capital that invested in JFrog in 2012 and believed that we have something that will change the world of software. You have to be, when you start a company, you have to be focused on 3 things. Number 1, identify your market, identify the persona, the one that you have to speak with. We sell to developers. I'm not trying to hide it. I never did. Even when I presented to VCs that asked me, so at what point you are planning to sell to the CIO and to the VP and the CTO? And I said, never. Never. We don't even know how to speak with them. So identify your persona. Our CRO, Tali Notman, the first exercise she did when she joined JFrog was going and sitting with our own developers. We are eating our own dog food, sitting with our own developers and phrase the email that we will send to the community, to our potential customers, the prospect. Identify the persona, know who you sell to. Once you understand that, you understand a lot. For example, in my world, you understand that developers don't like and don't appreciate sales and marketing. And it's okay. They have less tolerance to all kind of sales slogans. They want the here and now. They want to see how you solve their pain. Second thing is that once you know who you are going after, you have to come with the best superior technology. And again, as an underdog, it's very hard to convince because nobody's giving you a chance. But slowly, we have created the relationship with the community. We built the relationship with the community, and with few community leaders that gave us the chance, we started to build the reputation around Artifactory. And Artifactory was from day one a pain solver. People in JFrog back in 2008 saw it as a game changer in the world of software, and they built it that way. And this is why we said, once you leap forward, you won't go back. We knew that once you will try it, there is no way that you will come back. And the first developers, Yossi Shaul, Yoav, Fred, those developers, when they built Artifactory, they didn't build it to be a public company. They built it to solve the pain of this community, the persona that we mentioned before. So once you identify the persona and you have the superior technology, now you have to do another thing. You have to build the right business model that will fit that. Because assume that you identify the market as the developer's market and you come with the right technology, but then you go and try to sell to the CTO, the CIO. they don't even understand your language. What do you mean? Why binaries matters? Why do I need to use binaries? And today you can say digital transformation and DevOps at the same sentence, but back then it wasn't the case. So you know who you sell to, you know that you have the best product, but you also build the right business model. The subscription model was not new to us. The hybrid model was not new to us. Back in 2009, there was no companies in our field that also provided those software as a service. And we did it from day one because we believed in the hybrid solution. So to get to your first million, first identify the persona, have the best technology in the market, and then build the right business model that they can digest and become your champion. If they become your champion, I'll give you one more last tip about that. If they become your champion, procurement and legal start to serve them and not the other way around. And when you get to big organizations that you have to deal with procurement, but the champion is with you, this is a completely different discussion. You feel so fueled and proud that you can take any negotiation to a closing deal. I'm getting too excited, Alan. You have to stop.
No, super. It's great. It's great. Actually, I want to take those points you just mentioned. I mean, I thought this idea of talking to your own R&D team as potential customers and involving them in how you built your own marketing message, I think is an amazing story. But you were also not only just getting at the bottom. You were basically, I mean, one of the things that was amazing was you were starting to get deals in the hundreds of thousands of dollars without ever seeing a senior person. And, how did you get also that, help me through the sales motion that allowed you to, really build into significant deals. Now, a lot of people got into these multiple hundreds thousands of dollars of deals going top down. You did it bottom up, which I think in itself is a great accomplishment. Do you think you're ever going to get to a point where you're also going to have to go top down in addition to the bottom up? But let's start off with the bottom up and how you built that, and then what do you think you need to start going top down?
So yes, up until today, we do not have what the industry called direct sales or outbound. Everything we do is inbound, and our inside sales have few tiers. The one that deals with SMB, and the one that deals with the enterprise, and the one that deals with strategic. But there is no person on JFrog team, not even one, that do direct sales or outbound. You will never get, none of the audience, no one ever in the world got a phone call from a JFrog sales team and try to sell whatever we sell.
And your sales run rate now is how much on an annual basis? Huh?
We
as of last quarter. I know you're public, so let's go as of last quarter.
I'm learning this reality. What I can say, what can I
not. Exactly, I know.
we crossed in last year. We crossed the $100 million in ARR already in 2019, and we, as you know, and as was public, when we went public, our revenues were also above this number. So we see a lot of.
And you got to that number without seeing physically a customer.
Not even. Oh, no, we saw our customers physically. Some of them we met in a conference, a technology conference. Some of them we went over to meet them as our partners. But we never had the traditional top-down sale that you go to the manager or to the CIO, you play golf together, you wine, you dine, and then the developer hear about it. It's not how it works in our world. So the first thing is that if you have this kind of flow and the developers are your champions, you start to enjoy what the world started to realize just recently, that the developers are the rainmakers. Developers today take decision. They take decision about the software, about the platform, about the infrastructure, about shipping, about testing, about releasing. And that's a great change in the reality. Enterprise 4.0 identify developers as the buyer, as the main buyer. Developer tools are not anymore something you just push aside in the budget. It's a meaningful budget. Everything that happened in the cloud. Look at the clouds. Who are they going after? They're going after the developers. They are not going after the CIO. Obviously, at some point, from a certain amount, the CFO and the CIO, the CEO even will approve your PO. But this is already after you gain your place in the organization.
And one of the things you've done that's really amazing is you've done a spectacular job at keeping your customers. I mean, the churn at JFrog is, I mean, it's incredibly low. What were you doing that was sort of different than what other people were doing that was so successful in maintaining those fundamental relationships with those developers and making them your champions? Any sort of recommendations you can give to young entrepreneurs about what's necessary to get them on board?
Yes, and it all goes back to what you asked me at the beginning. It goes back to the culture. I have a team of over 700 frogs that walks from their hearts. They are not walking from their fingertips. They walk from their hearts. Just 2 days ago, one of the biggest banks in the world had an issue with our software and the DevOps flow. And I had a team in 3 different countries throughout the whole weekend walking like crazy. Although the customer at home celebrating the Martin Luther King Day, our team was walking throughout the whole weekend and the holiday in order to make sure that when they come back to work, we are ready to support them. And that's a great privilege for a CEO to have a team like that. It comes from the culture. The second thing that the support that, especially as you scale, you cannot have your R&D dealing with customers all day because they have to innovate, they have to build, they have to release and design the next version. You create a very strong R&D level support team. Our support team see it as a mission. It's not another ticket that they have to take care of. It's their mission. They call themselves an unbeatable support team. And you know, Alan, when you stand in a booth and you don't have any CEO suit, you don't have your badge name, nobody knows who you are. You stand in a booth in a 10,000 developers conference. Well, back in the day, this is 2019.
Yeah, where you could go to conferences.
Yeah, well, I missed that. But I'm standing in the booth and someone approaches the booth. And my first question, are you familiar with JFrog? And the answer is, yes, you guys have a great support team. That's like someone comes to your house for a Friday night dinner and say, I'm here because I know how great the food is when you guys are hosting. So you feel at home immediately. There is no icebreaker. Your support team is the front line and they see it as a mission. They call themselves R&D level support. They call themselves unbeatable. There is nothing that you cannot achieve with this kind of spirit.
You know, one of the other things, and again, we've got a lot of younger entrepreneurs in the audience, and you know, one of the things I think you did tremendously was you built great relationships with your investor base. You know, I think it was a great investor base that you built over time, and you were very careful about how you pick people. What could you know, some tips to young entrepreneurs about selecting their investors? What did you do to decide which investors you wanted? You know, take me through the process, and then also tell me, you know, what did you get from investors that they should be asking for? I mean, you looked at this as a partnership. You expected the investors to also deliver. So, what were you getting from the investors that they should also be asking for?
Well, you get me in trouble now with all the other investors. I can tell you from the bottom of my heart, and you know it. I truly love our partners, and I'm not, I'm not using this word lightly. I think that someone that build a great thing with you for such a long time is more than just an investor or partner. And yes, we are all running a business. You need to run your fund. I need to run my company. And it's great if we are winning together. But along the years, you build a relationship that is based on a lot of things. How professional the partner is, how familiar he is with the market, all kind of things. But beyond everything else, you build the relationship that are trust-based. Can you trust someone or not? Can you sit as you are in the boardroom with half understanding of the technology, because your partners are the one that build the product, with sometimes a broken English, but you can still feel safe in this neighborhood. You know that your partners, the one that sits on the other side of the table, are the real people that will fight with you and will celebrate with you when you win. And they will be there in hard times and in great time. Now, there is nothing new about what I said. So let me answer your question. I've met so many venture capital that some of them invested in much greater and bigger companies than JFrog. The investors of Google, of Facebook, the investors of the greatest companies in Israel, like Waze and so on. And Alan, Vintage is a fund-of-fund venture, so you know all of them. Yeah. Some of them, during the meeting with Fred, Yoav, and myself, before we even had money to pay our own salaries, some of them, it was clear to us that they will never sit in our board. I will give you one example. One of the investors told us that open source will never work. Well, today we know that it was a big mistake to say such a thing. But back then, maybe he had something in mind that I didn't see, but it for sure not something that can fit to what you build. Right. And if we come from open source and someone says something like that and try to convince you that he will write a check if you will close the open source, then obviously you have to be courage enough to step out from this meeting and say, I'm sorry, it will not work for us. Another guy told me when JFrog was already generating $15 million in ARR, the most famous VC in the Valley, really, we were honored to sit in their office. They told us that JFrog is too efficient because we work bottom up. And since we were already cash flow positive, he said that we are not burning enough money.
And if I remember that.
In a bank, he will invest in a bank, and he's in the business of startup. And I couldn't go to sleep that night because you really want.
I remember having the conversation with you afterward. Yeah.
You remember that day? And,
I remember the conversation.
At the end of the day, I sent him an email, very polite email, saying, "I'm sorry, it will not work between us." So what you see is that you start to collect the people, just as I told you about culture, that it's a binary thing. You start to collect the people that will go the 10,000 mile with you, that will invest not just money, but their time and their thoughts and their wisdom and the spirit into your venture. And this is a great privilege to have partners like that. And Alan, you remember that I met you before you were an investor in JFrog, and you introduced me to other VCs before you were an investor in JFrog. That's by default the kind of people that I'm looking for. So, I'm sorry.
And Shlomi, I think you made an extremely important point here. I want to maybe drill down a little bit. What you said was I had a great brand name VC, where as you said, I was honored to be even in the room, right? But you went on people. Like, in other words, you didn't decide, hey, I have to go have this brand name on my, as an investor. I want that specific person, that specific partner. Is that the right, is that what you're saying to this, to the people listening? Hey, it's not just only about brand, it's the specific guy who's the man or woman is going to sit on your board, and that relationship is even more fundamental?
I'm saying that while the brand is important, the partner, the individual, is the most important thing. This is
the most important.
Absolutely. And by the way, they're all great people. Sometimes you have the chemistry and sometimes you don't. And if you come as an entrepreneur and expect someone from this VC to work for you, you're already wrong. Your starting point should be, this is my job. I'm going to work. I'm going to manage this company. I need some extra help for people that see it in 10 other companies or in 100 other companies. And if you have the right partners in front of you, someone that can move fast, a decision maker, someone that is familiar with scalability, how you build a business and how you build a business in today's world, you have the right partner and you will feel it. You will feel it from the moment you meet him or her.
And Shlomi, also, you switching a little bit now again, sort of thinking before you went public, you did something also that for Israeli companies is unusual, and you made acquisitions. On the one hand, you have this great, spectacular team, which you referred to, this great R&D team, but you came to the conclusion, wait a minute, we can't do all this stuff in-house. And so what got you, to make a decision, hey, even as a private company, we want to make acquisitions? And second, what did you learn from those acquisitions that maybe entrepreneurs who are listening should take into consideration if they're thinking acquiring a company before they go public?
Yes, JFrog in the past, I think 5 years, since 2016, we acquired 5 companies. And 3 of them were injected directly to our IP. 2 of them were boosting and reinforcing our team. In all cases, there were 2 things that led us. One, is it the right culture that we bring home? 2, does it serve our strategy moving forward? Now, if the answer is yes, the only thing that you want to create is speed. You want to be faster by having an inorganic growth. Now, remember that I told you about being cash flow positive? That's a great privilege for a CEO. When you are a small company, under $50 million in ARR, and you can write a check to buy a company, that's meaningful. That means that you can run faster than your competitors. And the companies that we acquired brought not just great technology, but also great people and great leaders. And more than 80% of these leaders are still with JFrog, which is another kind of vote of trust in what and how we do. Now, it must be aligned with your strategy, with your vision, with where you go and what you do. It must be aligned with the culture. But you also have to make sure that your financials, and Jacob, our CFO, is more than just a CFO, is the enabler of this kind of moves. Your financials can allow that without putting the whole company in a risk, because sometimes M&A will not work or will not be as easy as it seems. For us, we completed the DevOps platform. The first universal hybrid DevOps platform in the world was completed before the market achieved that because of these acquisitions. And I'm very honored to have these guys with us.
So looking, not taking a not invented here mentality was crucial really to your growth.
Correct. It was crucial to our growth. And well, we look at our traditional competitors, they are far, far behind. And they are great people, very smart. They started with us, some of them with more money and more people, and they fall behind because they hesitated before they present their chutzpah.
Now, you talked about the IPO. You talked about Jacob, your CFO, and talk a little bit about the whole IPO process. Now, you made it. Not everybody wants to go public. You made a decision. Hey, we want to build this into a big public company. Take me through a little bit of that. that decision making and how that experience was. And again, for those people in the audience, maybe some learnings of what to do and what not to do with as part of the IPO or planning the IPO process.
Yeah, well, first, just to put things in place, I've done only one IPO in my life, so my whole experience from going public is JFrog, which is not. I'm not taking an expert place here. I would just share my story. We didn't know that JFrog is going public in 2008, not even in 2015, not even in 2017. We knew that we are building a great company. And the goal was not, should we sell it or should we go public? We just wanted to build a big company that serves as many developers as we can. Along the years, we started to understand where is it that we are going. Now, ask yourself, Alan, what is the difference between Tesla and General Motors? Both of them make cars. Both of them make cars, and Tesla will never think of itself as a car maker, as a car manufacturer. They will see themselves as the company that changes the world. And we make software developers tools, and others are making software developers tools for the world of DevOps. But we never saw ourselves as the makers of the software developers tools. We called the division Liquid Software because I know that what we build can change the life of my mother. So with that in mind, we have realized that what we have is big. It's something that can go all the way to NASDAQ. And this is where in 2018, we decided that we go public and we started to structure and build the company to be public ready. Are we still on the line? Racheli, I think that you're muted.
Sorry. Yeah, I think he'll be back in a minute. Just a second.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I got so excited, but I pressed the wrong button. Sorry. Anyway, go ahead. Yeah. So you didn't. I interrupted.
When we realized that we have a big story, it's not just another tool that will fight with another tool in the market. Right. It's a game changer. How can you update all the software? How can JFrog become a company behind all the software updates in the world? This is a big deal. This is beyond DevOps. This is making DevOps one of your avenues together. So this is where we decided that we will go public. Now, I'll tell you another thing. Israel is not anymore the startup nation. Israel has become the software nation. You have so many young entrepreneurs and young companies that are daring to go public, to go all the way, to say that we are not going to sell this thing to a bigger company, to another company. We are going to fulfill our own vision. And that's a great change that I see in the past years. We had the Israeli flag next to us on the podium, and it was a great honor.
Absolutely. Now, about that, maybe a little bit about the preparation. And really, I mean, it was an incredible accomplishment. By the way, both the performance of the company afterward. I mean, you just saw the way it was run. It was just fantastic. How important was it to have a CFO that had gone through this when you made that decision to go public?
So once you decide that this is your path and you're going to build a big company, an independent company, and you decide that this is what you want to do, you better find yourself, if you don't already have it, you better find yourself a very strong veteran CFO and a leader. It's not just the financial guy. It's also a leader, because this guy will manage the syndicate of the bankers when you go public. This guy will prepare your company. There are so many things that you have to learn and to prepare yourself to, that even the most experienced CEO will never do without a very strong CFO alongside. Jacob brought this experience from Mellanox. He built JFrog for a period of 2 years before we went public, to be ready for this point. And he was and he is a great partner for me to lead the company. So my answer to you is that if you don't have the right CFO, don't think about going public.
Thanks. And one, now you're public. Has it changed the business? Has truth, like, you feel like it's helped you? Has it hurt you? Is it now you've got this every quarter you got to be hitting numbers, and now the reality was you guys were doing great on your quarterly numbers even when you were private. But I mean, does it make you think more short term than you did before? You were always a long term thinker. What's been the pluses and minuses being a public company?
I was expecting to wake up on September 17 to a different world, and I'm happy that it didn't change. My day is still a very long day, working hard, not just me, but all of the frogs. Never thought that it will change the way we work. But you are starting to practice all kind of new things. For example, you asked me about the revenues, and you saw me hesitating because you have to process everything before you answer, so you will not mislead any potential investor in the public market. Our legal counsel, Eyal Ben David, which is doing a great job. By the way, another very important role for going public, is starting to be on my shoulder on everything I do and everything I say. Even preparing myself to this chat today, Alan, I asked Eyal to go over the list of questions to make sure that I'm not doing any mistakes. And you have to understand that you take a very bold decision to start the journey almost from the beginning. There are companies that the IPO for them is the end, and there are companies that the IPO for them is the beginning. For JFrog is the beginning of the next decade, and I think it will be a moment in time that we change the company, but it will serve us as we get bigger, and if we want to fulfill the vision that we are after. From a practicality point of view, we spoke about acquisitions, we spoke about inorganic growth. When you go public, your equity start to be much more, it's meaningful, and you already have a tag price. There is no private to private negotiation. You can be more aggressive, you can be more bold. Your buying power is different. You are more acknowledged in the world. And you can be faster because of that. JFrog today can swallow companies into it easier than it used to be in 2016, 2017, and with the buying power that we are planning to use.
Great. I guess maybe one final question. It repeats itself constantly, that comment about culture and everything else. You as an entrepreneur, just like every other entrepreneur, probably woke up one morning in this sweat and said, "Oh my God, what happened?" Like, maybe sort of say, give an example and maybe it was because of COVID, maybe it was the night before you went public, but something about, hey, how you take the culture to deal with, a massive problem that you had, and maybe something that people can learn from.
Yeah, well, building a company, building a startup is a roller coaster. And if you're not ready to be in this journey of summits and valleys, high and low, on a daily basis, then don't take this ride. Go and walk in a different company. And it doesn't change, or at least from where I am today, I can tell you that it doesn't change after you go public. It's still a roller coaster, and you're waking up every morning to a new competitor, and some of what you read in the newspaper is waking you up, and a new thing at home is that my wife and daughters know now the price per share because they just refreshed their iPhone. So I think that this is the reality. But if I want to take one of those episodes and share it with you, when I moved to the Silicon Valley with my family back in 2013, 2 months after, I called Karen Masad, our CHRO, and Orit Goren, our COO, and I was literally calling them in the middle of my night in California, sweating, telling them I think that everything we build in terms of the culture is going to fall apart because I'm now away and I'm now in the US. It was a 70 people company, and this is how those amazing partners came with the JFrog Codex and build this book of value together with me. I know that it might sound a bit cheesy, but I'm telling you, the only time that I sweat was because of the fact that I felt that we are losing our way and missing our culture and values. And lucky enough for me, again, you see why women are better. They will.
Shlomi, it's been an enormous treat to interview you. Thank you for your, the great insights. I'm sure the audience enjoyed it. I've already been getting a series of great comments from people. So congratulations, on the company you built, on the culture you built, and, looking forward to watching the next 10 years of, or the next, the decade plus of you building this into continue to build it into a phenomenal company. So thank you very much for the opportunity to interview today.
Alan, thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for being a great partner and being on board with us at the Swamp. And may the frog be with us, and maybe in 2021 we will have the opportunity to meet face to face and not mask to mask. After
I miss you, my friend. Be well. Take care of yourself. Bye bye.
Thank you for the opportunity. Bye bye.
Thank you.